This might be a little late for the party this year, but we're gonna do it anyway. Things that you should do before the winter time in your truck. For you guys who live in somewhere where it's warm in the winter time, this doesn't really apply, but it does at the same time. Because for the most part, you always get a little cooler weather, but it's also a good thing for maintenance to be doing maintenance on your truck. So you will get lots of people that argue with me on this, and that's cool. Do as you may, do as you want. I just wanted to give a rundown for the guys that had questions, or why do I do this, or why should I do this, and how do I prevent certain things. So for us in Canada, where I am, we will see lots of times minus 30, minus 35. It's cold out. It's cold. Driving a diesel truck, they don't like the cold. So something I recommend doing when you're dealing with your diesel truck and it's really cold out, or winter driving, winter starts, that type of stuff. One thing you want to do is make sure that you have your block heater, make sure your block heater works. I will do a separate video on how to test a block heater cord. Most trucks will have, especially in northern states and in Canada, you will have block heater. This is a coolant block heater, not an engine oil block heater, but nonetheless. Want to make sure that works, get it dug out. Something else that I do recommend, and I'll do there again, I will show a video because I haven't put a new one on this because the old one burnt out, is put a battery minder on the batteries so that when you plug your block heater in, the battery minder will turn on and keep your batteries rolling, I call it. So basically it keeps a tiny bit of a charge on it to keep the batteries as charged as it can. So a rolling battery, or in general with water, if it's moving, it will not freeze. So obviously a battery that has power won't freeze either, but if your battery is fully charged up, your truck will usually start. So, unless the battery's no good, obviously. So I use a battery minder, but I will put a separate video up talking about the battery minder and also do a second video on this. So just keep an eye out for those if you're interested. If you're watching this later, I probably will have a video in the description. If not, you can just search on the channel for it. I'll probably make an actual playlist maybe for maintenance stuff. I should actually do that. I'll make a playlist. So check in the playlist for a maintenance playlist, because I should really start doing a bunch of that. So we're talking in the fall when you get your truck ready for the wintertime, or what should you do to get your truck ready in the wintertime. Myself personally, if you're in really cold climate, if you're running a 1540 diesel oil, I do recommend going to a little bit lighter of an oil. If you're running synthetic oil, you can go to a 540 from the 1540. If you're still running conventional, you can do a 1040, or you can even do some 1030s depending on how cold it is. But most guys now will run a synthetic in the wintertime. Even if you're running a conventional in the summertime. I really don't like switching from conventional to synthetic. Lots of guys do it, don't have any problems. So completely up to you. I personally, if it's going to be really cold, unless if I don't need to drive the truck and it's really cold out, I just don't drive it. But anyways, so you can change your oil. You should change your oil in the fall, or when you change your oil getting close to the fall, go to that 540 synthetic or 540 or that thinner grade oil. Makes it way easier to start in the wintertime. Something else is make sure your coolant is up to par. Check your coolant, make sure your coolant is up to the job of being when it's freezing. It's a really good idea to do that. So we talked about the coolant, talked about the oil. I put those there so I wouldn't forget. And make sure, I always recommend in the fall, put a new fuel filter in. Unless you've just done a fuel filter, I would do a fuel filter. It doesn't matter how many kilometers are on the fuel filter, I recommend doing a fuel filter. Now I always run fuel conditioner as well. I run a winter blend in the wintertime, and in the summertime I run a summer blend. I run it in every tank full. Do you have to do that? No, you don't have to. But I look at it as cheap insurance. There's additives in that they do not have in the diesel fuel, so I recommend doing that. So, change your fuel filter, run fuel additive. Something else that I would recommend as you're coming into, if your batteries haven't been tested, like let's say your battery is 3-4 years old, you're gonna have 2 batteries. My second battery is underneath, so you can't see the second battery. I would recommend having the batteries tested. make sure that batteries are good. If you've never tested batteries before, if you have two batteries, you cannot test the batteries together. You have to disconnect one battery, test one battery, test the other battery. If you have one battery that's no good, do not replace one battery. Replace both batteries. You will save yourself a lot of headache. Trust me on this. So, and I know there again, lots of people are like, oh, well, you can do that. Manufacturer says you can do that. It's like, yeah, well, the manufacturer says you can do some things, and lots of things that we do, they say we're not supposed to do. So, I recommend changing both batteries. After I started changing both batteries many years ago, if we had a battery problem, guess what? We didn't have battery problems anymore. So yeah, is what it is. So I would recommend make sure you check your batteries. And then as far as the rest of the truck, myself personally, I like to do just a quick run through the rest of the truck. You know, check your front, your diff oils, your transmission, your transfer case, check your U-joints, you know, re-grease everything, all that type of stuff. And then something else that I do, now being we're in Canada, I oil undercoat the bottom of our trucks, and then I power wash it off in the spring, best I can anyway. So I do that and make sure everything's not gonna rust. But what I do is take a product like the WD-40 spray and stay lubricant gel, and I shoot like, you know, our hinges, you know, that type of stuff. Because if you keep that stuff lubed, one, you're not gonna have problems with stuff freezing up. And that is not a good time, and you won't break a hinge either. Because for some reason, people don't do that anymore. I don't know why. And then same with your latches. Do all your door latches, your door hinges, all that stuff. For whatever reason, lots of people don't do that. But I do. This is not the only product. WD-40 did send me this product, but I've used this product before many years. I used this, fluid film, goo, what is it, goo something, honey goo, that's it. You know, I've used that product. Like, this isn't the only product. This is just what I use right now. So I do that on all that stuff. You know, I'll spray stuff in my electrical connectors for my 7-way, clean your battery terminals off, make sure they're all clean and lubricated so that you don't have to worry about corrosion, because corrosion will have problems. So just kind of, oh, and another thing I would check too also is brake fluid. Lots of people say, oh, you know, it's just a scam talking about changing brake fluid and all that jazz. That is not so much the case. The reason that you need to change brake fluid is brake fluid absorbs water. So brake fluid will get to a certain point where there's so much water dilution in it that it doesn't, one, it boils when it gets hot, which you don't want, and two, it will start to freeze up when it's really cold, which you don't want, because then your brakes don't work. So I would recommend checking your brake fluid as well. Now, for the most part, doing my brake fluid, I don't change the brake fluid that often. I find whenever I'm doing brakes, I do a brake fluid flush at the same time on all my stuff. And I find that every 3-4 years, I'm usually doing brake pads and shoes on the truck. At a minimum, I do a brake fluid flush at the same time. And a good indicator for me anyway, if the brake fluid is crystal clear to see through, it's usually okay, because it kind of goes darkish color when it starts to go bad. But myself personally, you know, like if I'm doing the brakes, I do a brake fluid flush. Do you have to? No, you can test it. There's testers for it, which is just testing dilution for water. But if you're doing the brakes, do your brake fluid at the same time, save yourself the hassle, makes the system stays clean as well, because when it gets a certain point, if you're boiling your brake fluid, you get air in the system, and air turns into rust. You don't want rust in your brake system. So make sure you take care of your brake system as well. So that's something every year I check. And if it's really dark, you know, if I've run the truck really hard that year or whatever, and it's dark, I just change it. You know, if you guys are doing this stuff yourself, you know, you're following me for doing compounds and engines and all that stuff, this regular maintenance stuff, you guys should be able to handle that yourself, no problems. And if you guys need help, you know, if you want me to do a video on doing a brake fluid flush, if you want me to do a video on undercoating, just let me know in the comments what you guys, I'll do a video for you. If you don't know how to do it, I will do a video. Just tell me, hey, Rob, can you do a video on this? I will do my best. I might not be able to do it right away, which doesn't help maybe the guy that commented right away, and I'm sorry. Just do have all kinds of stuff to do, but just it will help the next guy if it doesn't help you. So don't hesitate to comment, ask questions, that type of stuff. And good, bad, I don't really care. It's one of those things. I know some people don't comment because it's, they don't know if they should say something or whatever. If you see me doing something that you don't like, just comment, because you can. So hopefully that'll help you guys out. Like I said, big thing is just go over, do a quick check over on your truck. Change your fluids, change your fuel filter. Fuel filter is a big one. Fuel additive is a big one, in my opinion. And then your batteries. If you do a fuel filter, make sure you put fuel conditioner in and your batteries are good, running a thinner oil, and then obviously plug it in. These guys doing cold starts all the time, I just don't understand. I don't know. It's just one of those. Don't get me wrong, have I done cold starts? Oh yeah, I've done cold starts. Should you? No, you shouldn't. Especially when you can plug the truck in. Just doesn't make sense to me. You can plug the truck in, plug the damn truck in, man. So, yeah, hopefully that helps the guy out. Like, subscribe, hit me down in the comments. Remember, it's not rocket science.